Good afternoon, those of you who have joined so far. I still see a couple people trickling in, so we'll give it another minute or two, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, looks like the joining is settling down, so we'll go ahead and get started here. First off, before we jump into anything, just a couple of housekeeping items. Just want to make sure you guys know we'll be recording this session, so it'll be available to you after the fact if you want to come back and watch again. Likewise, we do encourage questions, so we are going to have a Q&A session at the end. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to open you guys' mics, but what we'll do instead is if you type in the little question box you have there, what we'll do when we get to the Q&A session at the end, we'll catch up with all those at that point. So let's go ahead and get started here. First, introduce the folks we have on the call. We have Scott Wilson, who is the Channel Account Manager from Zerto, as well as Harry Smith. He's a technology evangelist. He'll be doing a lot of the presentation here later on. And then, of course, myself, Todd Geib. I'm the Data Center Practice Manager at CoreTech Services. So we thought it made sense before we jump into the specific Zerto content to give you guys a little bit of background on CoreTech, give you a feeling for why we invited you to this call and where we fit in the puzzle, as well as why we're here partnering with Zerto. So first, a little bit of background information on CoreTech. We were founded in 2005. We're based out of Farmington Hills, Michigan. So we've been in business a little over 10 years. We are a services-oriented consulting business. So along those lines, when you take a step back and look at our business, of our team, 85% of our employees are in delivery. So very low on overhead, very big on the consulting side of things. One of the things you'll hear come up a couple times, both in this presentation as well as in working with us, is our mission statement. It sounds kind of cheesy, but Project Success, no exceptions, is our mission statement, and we do truly live and die by this. I've been at CoreTech almost 4 years now, and in a number of different positions, and I can personally attest to seeing how that statement is carried out in a number of different ways. Take a moment here to kind of toot our own horn with some awards. The last 5 years in a row, we've won the National Best and Brightest companies to work for nationally, as well as the last 8 years in a row here in Metro Detroit. Also, we've recently won the Citrix and AppSense Central Partner of the Year and Nutanix Partner of the Year as well for healthcare. Some key distinguishers for us. We are a Microsoft Global Managed Services Partner. I think I just heard actually that in terms of the Azure consumption that we're able to account for our customers, we are within the, I think we're in the top 2 or 3 in the U.S. So that on top of a bunch of other Microsoft skilled areas has led us to this global managed services partner as well. Speaking of partnerships, we do have the highest level of partnerships with Imprivata, Citrix, VMware, AppSense, and iGel, just to name a few. Those are kind of the high points. So CoreTech, as I mentioned, is a services-oriented organization, but just to give you a feeling for where we land and the types of things that we can help you out with, we've kind of split our business up into practices, and this is in essence an overview of the practices. So we have a virtualization practice, which is both server and desktop virtualization. We do a lot of business there, healthcare-wise. We do have a cloud solutions and Microsoft practice. Both of those are centered around Azure, as well as some other key Microsoft technologies that you can see listed there. And as you could see before from my title, the data center practice is the practice that I manage. Very quickly on the data center front, because this is where Zerto fits in for us, the way we define that is basically anything storage, compute, or networking, throwing a little bit of hypervisor there. So if you think of this in terms of a stack, we're basically anything hypervisor and below. And then all encompassing on top of all those practices is managed services. So any of the solutions that we deliver, we do offer the ability to come back in and manage all, some, or just pieces of the infrastructure there for you, and have a team behind that can help out there as well. So some quick CoreTech differentiators. I've mentioned before our motto, that is truly the center of everything we do. We are consultants first. So what we mean by that is we take a consultative approach when we come in to talk to you about problems. The idea being that we are not necessarily married to a methodology. We're more about solving problems on your behalf. That bodes well because we come in with a solution-based approach and not married to a given technology. So as a result, we are technology agnostic. We don't come in with a trench coat of products and say, these are the ones you can pick from, let us know which one you want, and we'll leave. It's much more solving the problem and moving forward with whatever's appropriate to the problem. I mentioned partnerships a little bit before. One of the things that's unique about CoreTech is the way that we partner with our vendors. Obviously, Zerto being one of those has gone through this as well. Of course, there's the kind of standard in the industry relationship type stuff there, but one of the things that I'm happy with how we've done this over the years is we actually will have the vendor come in, bring in their solution, and give us basically a copy of it, whether it's a piece of software or a hardware solution, and we give it to our delivery guys. Our delivery guys will sit down and hammer on the thing and then come out and basically say whether they're happy with it or not from a technology standpoint. Once we've got that okay, then we move forward on the rest of it. So as a result, we do stand behind our partners strongly because we are confident in the technology that they have. And another interesting thing about CoreTech that I think not a few, if any, services organizations out there can say is, of all the pilots that we've done out there, 100% have gone into production. We've literally never had one that has gone south and we've had to pull out or change directions in any way. We've literally taken all of our pilots directly into production. Also, a quick mention as we pass by here, although we are a services organization, we do some software development. So as a result, we have some of our own IP. We have some software that's specifically in optimizing virtual desktops, kind of some holes out there that we noticed that other vendors weren't filling, and so came up with that on our own. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the Zerto content here. I'm going to pass control here over to Harry.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right, go and you go right ahead and jump in.
Okay, perfect. All right, so just want to jump into the theme here and our area of disaster recovery and all the different use cases that the world opened up, but really thinking about outages and downtime in Windows is why we have up on the screen what's here. We live in a world that's 24/7 business. Even if you're a 9-to-5 shop, you need access to your systems, or your customers need access to something all the time. It's very rare when you don't. So I like to think of it as not trying to always minimize your downtime, but I think of myself as a glass half full, and I want to always maximize my uptime. So really driving that change in mentality and looking at solutions as you move forward to protect your business, and ensuring you're driving yourself towards being enabled for the hybrid cloud strategies, because everybody is moving to the hybrid cloud in some capacity, whether that's fluctuating in and out in different parts of your org or through acquisitions, but it's part of your life, so you want to make sure you're investing in the right solutions and technologies that will support that hybrid cloud initiatives that you are driving internally. And just to speak about that evolution of IT and why we are where we're at, but thinking about building physical servers and managing and maintain that is a lot of work. And as trying to recover or restore servers physically is a lot of work, and redeploying machines takes time and money and effort. So servers are built with a lot of redundancy and high availability, but really it was the introduction of virtualization years ago in the state that it is today of abstracting that compute layer from the physical layer. So these virtual machines can run on these servers and not care about hardware and not be limited by all those factors of downtime. So there's more mobility and agility in your data center. So this has made life a lot easier, made recoverability of these virtual machines and servers so much easier and faster, which leads us to becoming more and more software-defined with the SDDC, the software-defined data center. And that's really taking that concept of abstraction, applying it to your other layers, such as network layers and storage and security, and ensuring that you're less reliant on physical points of that hardware. You're still using the hardware, but you don't care so much about the configuration details or attributes of it because you're virtualized. And of course, the more and more you become software-defined, it either is to adopt a hybrid cloud strategy, whether that's migrating workloads or DRing workloads to a private, a public, or a hybrid, or a mix of all these, with your managed provider as well. Adopting this technology and this evolution really enables you to worry less about those underlying infrastructures and architectures and procedures. So that's what we're going with here. And who is Zerto? What do we do? Zerto provides enterprise-class virtual replication and disaster recovery automation, really good towards maximizing that uptime and enabling a hybrid cloud strategy. So no matter what comes down your path, you're ready to go, and you're not afraid of change. You're not worried about new technologies. You can actually try new things without being locked into your current strategies and current technologies. So not just natural disasters, and the point for this slide as it builds out, and you'll definitely, I don't want you to spend your time adding these numbers up because it is above 100. The reason for that is respondents could check off more than one, meaning my business has a 43% chance of power failures and a 31% chance of hardware failures. So when you really think about all these disasters, the point to the title of not just natural disasters is DR was always last on everybody's list. And there's been a huge change in 2016 and 2017 with DR as a service and just disaster recovery in general, gearing it more towards driving that uptime. Once again, that business resiliency, IT resiliency. And if you're buying a DR policy or as an insurance policy or DR products for that, and you're protecting against natural disasters, you can look at this screen right here and you can see it's not even on the list. It falls under human errors, and that's just the first disaster of floods. It's 12%, and then the rest are even lower. So yeah, you don't want to put money where you don't think you're going to be hit by something. But consider all these and the impact it actually has to organization when you have a power failure, even a partial site failure, and what does that do to your business? Not just IT and repairing it, but what does it do for your name? What does it do for the customers trying to get access, IT repairing it, and all your experts on staff trying to fix this, and never mind the application owners and end users and sales team trying to re-enter data that you actually couldn't recover. So major outages are impacting you. You need to start considering having this IT resilience and not an insurance policy for DR. This is just a calculation of business impact, and when you're thinking about the data loss, the downtime, and data entry, you look at multiple solutions. You might have just backups today, and people do use backups for DR, even though they're very different, and these are the reasons why. But if you're looking at an RPO of 24 hours, and it could take you 24 hours to recover that data and then re-enter data, that data entry you have to calculate into your RTO, you're looking at a huge impact, even though it was maybe a much cheaper solution, a big impact to your business. So storage replication is huge. A lot of businesses are using it, and you probably are as well. Really reduces those RPOs and RTOs. Depending on your data set, you can even get that even smaller, shorter windows if you don't have much data to send every couple of hours or every 15 minutes. So maybe more expensive to get yourself involved from the beginning than backups. But when a disaster strikes and you're talking about data loss and your company's their name on the street, that impact is so much less when you can recover without that loss. And Zerto Virtual Application is in the hypervisor. So it's hypervisor-based replication and recovery. And it actually brings those RPOs and RTOs down even lower, down some sub 20 seconds and usually sub 20 minutes across the sites to bring workloads back up. So when you're not afraid of losing data, no matter what the impact to your site, to your application, which is multiple VMs, an application that spans them. Single VMs are actually single files. Someone deletes one or ransomware strikes or one of those human errors that cause most of our outages that we don't consider disaster recovery, but it causes huge impacts, and it could bring down a whole group of people because things are deleted. So you actually need to consider it disaster recovery and protect it as so. So how does this work? We'll look at a couple of architectural slides and just kind of give you an overview of how this all pieces together. But basically, when the company was founded in 2009, first product released in 2011, it was realized all these pieces of the infrastructure are becoming software defined. Why is replication still in the storage layer? Why is it tied to physical hardware? Sure, there is a fit and there's a need for backups, and there's a fit and need for storage-based replication and hypervisor-based. And that's why you work with CoreTech Services to provide the best solution for your needs and for your business workloads, and all the services that go around disaster recovery and automation and bringing these things back up so you can continue working. But replication needs to be abstracted from that layer as well. And this, of course, was the first enterprise-class hypervisor-based solution, all software-based, no physical appliances, and includes, which sometimes is considered more powerful for the business, automated recovery and orchestration for bringing those workloads back up and changing IP addresses and pointing them the right way. So fail over, fail back, and data center migrations, all these use cases that start uncovering from what was originally considered a disaster recovery product is actually quite powerful in many different areas. So the more you use it in those scenarios, the more you're saving your business, especially in the OpEx, because you have the same solution, the same interface, and you can plan everything out. So this slide, I'll break it down before I expand on the slide, but how does it actually work? BDR, Zerto Virtual Application. On the left, we see a production site, and on the right, we see a BCDR site. It looks a little different depending on which cloud you're going to, and if you're going to CoreTech Services for DR as a service, in one case, they might see the right side, but you'll see something a little different from your end. But I have a couple of hosts on the left, a couple of hosts on the right. As far as hypervisor hosts, some storage, and in this case, VMware's vCenter server, could be Microsoft Hyper-V as well. Either one we need to manage server there. We install the Zerto Virtual Manager in less than 20 minutes, get it up and running on a Windows machine, and that's the management interface. No downtime install, that has the database in there and all the details we need. And from there, we deploy these Zerto Virtual Replication appliances. Now, these little appliances are very lightweight. They're hypervisor-based and scale out, meaning you have 2 or 3 hosts in your environment, you're going to get the same replication engine as a large enterprise with 1,000 hosts, which they just happen to have 1,000 different replication engines instead of 3. So as you grow and scale, these things keep up with your workloads. And they also do scale up, so you can grow them in memory and RAM later if you need to in certain cases, but most of the time the defaults are fine. But they do handle compression if you want to. They handle time of day, bandwidth throttling, and they are resilient to outages. You can do rolling upgrades for this environment and not worry about losing replication or losing data points. So very flexible and easy is the point here, to get up and running in no time with no disruptions. So from there, I'm having a little trouble moving to the next slide. Here we go. We do VM block level changes only. So initially copy the entire VM over and then watch continuous replication, no scheduling, no managing any of these schedules between applications and virtual machines. Block by block as they're written locally and verified and validated. Asynchronous block sends to the other site, so it's usually only a couple seconds behind production, but it's happening all the time. You never have to worry about when it's going. No snapshots and no agents in the VMs means all those virtual machines on the left that you're protecting have absolutely no performance impact because of the solution. They have no idea what's going on and they do not get impacted, which is another reason why you can scale to any length and not worry about your environment slowing down as your business grows, which is the worst possible scenario. On the other side is where the extra disk storage takes place. There's no, again, extra overhead on the source site, but your destination site has a journal in addition to the base disk. You're looking at about 7 to 10% extra space for that journal to keep changes. And there are very efficient things built in we won't talk about today, but built into the network bandwidth and storage savings in additional areas that are unique. But really, you can keep this journal over there between 1 hour and up to 30 days, giving you really flexibility to have different workloads, have different journals and different times that you want to keep them depending on what you need and what you might want to protect against. Now, the next is just looking at hybrid cloud architecture and how this enables your business to be ready for that is the new feature in 5.0, which is one-to-many hybrid cloud architecture. The one-to-many feature just allows you to take one virtual machine and protect it to up to 3 locations, depending on your offering. The really, really cool thing is you could replicate a version locally, maybe keep a different SLA for that VM locally for file level restores and recovering from ransomware, and you don't want to pull one VM down from the cloud or run one VM up there and fail one over. You can, but you might not want to. Maybe keep a couple of day journal up in the cloud as well in case your site has an outage. But what's really cool is, as you know, with CoreTech, they work really closely with Azure. So it's not working with a Zerto-backed cloud provider or going to a public cloud subscription. It's really figuring out what works best for you and getting that managed service around that offering, which is actually extremely unique in this scenario that a lot of just about anybody else in the world is you're allowed to look at Azure, but you're not getting any, you do it all yourself. So you get a huge offering there, and feel free to jump in and add any color to that, Todd, if you want.
Yeah, we've actually been seeing a fair amount of success there in terms of, after the fact coming back and helping folks out. Zerto is sort of the gateway into that, and what we'll commonly use for that sort of thing. But Zerto, while it is easy, to set up and run and manage, does still need to be managed. So that's one of the places where we can certainly help over time from a managed services standpoint.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. The recovery automation is huge, and it's a few clicks to fail over, but it's always leaving the customer left with what happens next. And you can figure it out and look online and try to figure out the whole disaster recovery plan and what else logistically needs to happen for business continuity. But you can also trust in a company like CoreTech that does this every single day and not your once-a-year testing that you do on your own. If you can even accomplish that, go with the experts that can actually do this in any scenario at any time. Lead you to worrying about the business, but this allows you, again, have that SLA, multi-SLA, anytime you want, same interface, same solution. Just make it flexible. I'm just going to break down real quick into a couple additional features, but enterprise applications, the architecture behind them, I'm sure you're well aware of the easy term of web app database, a 3-tier application, which is 3 different VMs. Well, this is building out a pretty common scenario of if you have everything virtualized, firewalls, load balancers, pointing to your web servers and front-ending these file servers, index servers, and database servers, and that intercommunication between all these servers, you have a very complex application. So this is huge when it comes time to recover an application. Knowing your RTOs and RPOs is oftentimes hard to prove and hard to meet, and driving those SLAs, especially if it's something that you're not used to doing yourself, you don't do it very often, So having trust in somebody that knows this process is extremely powerful, and knowing the correlation between your applications. But if I bring up a database server from an hour ago or from 4 hours ago, and my other servers are from 15 minutes to 24 hours, depending on the method that I've used, the data is going to be out of sync. I'm spending more time fixing data and re-entering data than just recovering servers, so that adds to my RTO and adds to errors and adds to data loss. So it's huge. And these applications, you might have some that are 40, 50 VMs and some that are 2 or 3. What Zerto's done, historically with like storage-based replication, you can put all those virtual machines on the same LUN as long as it has enough space on it and you have enough time in that hour or 2 hours to replicate all the changes. We took that mentality and created what we call virtual protection groups. These are actually just assigned to virtual machines, and you protect all the virtual machines you want to in the same VPG. It could be one VM, it could be many. Well, these virtual protection groups will maintain right order fidelity, all those blocks being sent to the other side, and a valid checkpoint. When we know that fidelity has been maintained, we make a valid recovery checkpoint. So it could be every couple of seconds, and they'll differ between VPGs and network availability and priorities or application, but the main point is when you hit recover, that application comes up from the same exact point in time. You're not spending any more time fixing anything, and because it's from a couple of seconds before your data loss, before that outage or that disaster, you're not actually re-entering any data because you haven't lost anything, maybe a block or two that hasn't made it across the wire yet. So very, very easy, and that's why the RTOs are actually so low, not just booting VMs, but booting VMs that work the first time and have what you need in them. You can definitely pre-configure all this stuff, your network settings and your boot priorities and boot ordering and all that timing, but you don't ever have to schedule RPO. RPO is automatic and it's ongoing continuously. So it's also, the other important thing is being fully virtual aware, meaning if I'm taking advantage of things like storage vMotion, I don't want to disable that because I'm locked into a LUN for replication. Maybe I want to actually let that infrastructure do its own job and keep things efficient and working well the best it can. We just protect a VM. No matter where that VM goes, it's protected. So it really removes that reliance on individuals. This easy interface gives you all the data you need, your real-time RPOs. You can always log in and improve your RPO, and you can correlate that to the infrastructure on the left with graphs and charts as far as storage and network monitoring. So you know if RPO is climbing, you might be able to correspond it to what's happening over there. And then it's built-in DR test reporting, so you can do failover tests anytime you want, any time of day without breaking replication or causing any problems to production VMs. So you're always in compliance for DR, but it also automatically spins you out a report at the end that says this is your DR test, this is what you ran, and this is what your current RTO is. So you can prove not only your RPO, but easily prove your RTO. Now that is hugely successful in, again, not just proving DR, but data center migrations, mergers and acquisitions. You don't know what you're going to get when you acquire a company, and moving the data can be the hardest part. Well, if you can migrate it all ahead of time across storage platforms and hypervisors into your data center, you can test it anytime you want, make sure those applications include all the right VMs. If you forget a VM, you can test it ahead of time. So when Friday night comes and you want to hit the button, a few minutes later it comes up the first time without any guesswork. Simple few-click replication and actual failover or failback. When an event happens, you just click the failover button, select all the virtual protection groups you want to recover, select if you want the latest checkpoint or one of thousands of checkpoints over the last 30 days per VM, and hit actual doing failover tests. You'll get these reports showing you there's a lot of other report builds that you can create as well, but and customize. And then lastly, there are some features here and some destination locations that allow you to look at your entire environment from this new SaaS platform that lets you log in anywhere without VPN and just look at all your infrastructure and see how well you're doing without calling all the different departments, without calling the backup people and the storage teams and the VMware teams and Hyper-V teams. You can actually just open this up and say, oh, I'm good across the board. So it seems silly to have an application for something like this, but when you actually use it and realize how you used to have to try to do this, and even if you could meet that, it actually makes it quite convenient. So a couple of use case scenarios here, and then I know Todd has a lot of information here to expand on what I'm going to say here. But everybody's using Zerto, 1 VM or higher, up to thousands and thousands of VMs. It's not limited there, but we also have healthcare industries is a great concentration, and healthcare and financial, of course, are picking up. But these are a couple of names we can actually show. These are some Zerto customers, and you'll hear from a couple of others. But in the health industry specifically, this is from actual case studies of customers and protecting their mission-critical applications. People wonder about some of these because they're so intricate, and they worry about data consistency and recoverability. And this is what the top use cases are being used for currently as far as protection: large SQL databases and Dynamics and Epic and Allscripts, and there's even more. And this is why they wanted to use a solution like this. Extremely low RPOs and RTOs to complement their current high availability solutions and augmenting their backups and maybe even augmenting storage replication sometimes, but giving you that continuous data protection, DR testing anytime. And then the last two are really what I'm starting to hear from this industry of ransomware and M&A. You think it's all about the low RPOs, which it is, but there are so many people in this industry stockpiling money to save for ransoms. Well, you're not tempted to pay a ransom if you don't worry about data loss. If you're only going back a couple of seconds before that infection happened, you're not actually worried about making any payments. And again, we mentioned the M&A, acquiring the unknowns of what you're going to get for infrastructure and architecture. So Zerto summary here, some of these cases, but looking at migrations and testing and having that one platform to give you low RPOs and RTOs without any of the management overhead. So couple that with the next couple of slides when I pass this back over now, with what CoreTech Services offers around the rest of the solution, making sure you have everything you need in the whole the lineup from the base bare metal all the way through disaster recovery migrations, migrating to the cloud. And once you're there, do protection to another, intra-cloud DR, so from one CoreTech data center to another. So all these different solutions and availability for you. So with that, I will pass privileges over to you again. And thank you so much. If there's any questions, I'll keep an eye out for that as well.
Great, thanks, Harry. Let me take over here. Perfect. Okay, so at this point, we thought it made sense to talk through some actual customers and some actual success stories that we've seen with Zerto specifically. So starting off here, this is a large healthcare system in Lansing, Michigan, who came to us. They were using what I guess I'll call traditional backup methods to do their DR. What it turned out, and they realized this, and that's why they came to us, was that what they had was a method to do backup, but not true DR. When they looked at their RTO, it was an almost undefinable number. So as a result, they were looking to automate things. They were looking to simplify things along the way, and they were very sensitive to how easy this thing was to set up. They didn't want an overly complicated tool, because if the problem they recognized right up front was that if they're spending all day in the tool itself just to set the thing up, the actual recovery from that tool was going to be equally complicated. So that was a particularly sensitive area for them. And then obviously the cost. They wanted something that had an easy pricing model, as well as something that wasn't just an obvious ridiculous price to start off with. So of course we wouldn't have brought these guys up if we wouldn't have mentioned Zerto in this case. Obviously from what you've seen so far from Harry showing, it's a 100% web-based interface, very, very easy to move through and to find the things that you're looking for. For these guys, what they were doing was adding a second data center, or they were using a data center they already had as DR. And as such, when they were putting new hardware in this second data center, it was new hardware. They decided to go a different direction from where they were from a SAN standpoint, storage standpoint, and as a result had different arrays on both ends. And so that was a show-stopping requirement. You had to be array independent. And as you heard from Harry there. This is something that runs as a VM and it doesn't care what's underneath it. So worked very well in that case. From the standpoint of ease of recovery, once they saw the process behind what it takes to recover, going to the little icon in the tray and selecting the VMs you need, that was a night and day difference from what they had experienced in the past. And I think what really put them over the top was this concept of testing. They previously, their tests weren't really tests. They were, everyone agreeing that they were going to do something, but there wasn't an actual movement of data or bringing up of servers or anything like that. And the idea that they could not only do everything they were doing before from a testing standpoint, but they could also do a true test. They could bring up, the VMs from the replicated data on the other end, built into the tool was certainly a very interesting thing for them for sure. So these guys today are protecting 250 tier 1 servers, which is I believe all of their tier 1 servers. They decided to start off with that, and just the other day actually got back together with them on this subject, and they are planning on expanding out into 500 additional tier 2 and tier 3 servers. With that being an estimate, by the way, I think they're expecting to actually go higher than that. So that as we've seen, has been a recurring theme among Zerto customers. They'll kind of get started with what they deem as the bare bones minimum to sort of quote unquote test the tool, and then they'll end up expanding out to other VMs above and beyond their initial swath of them. So this is one of many Zerto customers that has ended up happy after implementing that we thought we'd share. So moving over into next steps, we're going to go ahead and get to Q&A here after this. We want to make sure that you know about the next sort of item of business here. We, CoreTech, as you've heard, works closely with Zerto, and usually what is a good sort of first step in this, after a webinar like this is a demo. Zerto and CoreTech do these demos all day long, and it's a great way to actually see the tool. It's a live system. It's a live failover that you're going to see, and you can stop at any point, and we can answer specific questions, take the demo in a different direction if need be. But that is something that is available to you after this. So we do encourage you to please reach out. Their info at CoreTechServices.com. And we can get something set up after that. So let's jump over into Q&A here. We have received a couple questions here along the way, and please, while I'm reading these, don't be afraid to add on some others. So what I'm going to do, I will read off these questions, and between Harry and I, we'll get each one of these answered and potentially follow up after that. So if you're good to go, Harry, we'll jump right into the questions here.
Yeah, great, thanks.
Perfect. So first question says, I didn't hear any mention of snapshots. Does Zerto do snapshots?
Right, yeah, so the answer is no. Oh, there are no snapshots and no agents in the guest OSs because it's hypervisor-based. There are solutions that still do, but in this case, no, not on either the recovery side or destination side. So you never have to worry about any performance impact or storing tons and tons of extra data on top of that journal.
One thing I'll even add on to that is one of the ways that Zerto is able to accomplish their frankly, ridiculously low RPO and RTO is because they're not snapshot based. The time it takes to do a snapshot is time that you lose in establishing that recovery point. So having more of a stream in a journal definitely is a benefit in this case. So moving on to the next one. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, there's a time and place for snapshots. They were made for a reason and built, but like you said, that recovery time is is critical and just makes it easier to not worry about when your business grows, are you going to be impacted because of your recovery solution.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Next one is, can I recover after the ransomware has replicated? Interesting.
Yeah, that's, people always wonder that, like, oh, you're just going to replicate all this ransomware, and absolutely, but you can still look at your journal and go back a few seconds before. So there's the option to look through file level restore in that journal. So the same set of data, you can grab a file out of or grab that whole application. You could pull a file down or a group of files, a folder, whatever, but you could also run a failover test and actually boot those VMs up from that exact point in time before that ransomware happened and an isolated network, and make sure you get everything you need, whether you need to recover the whole VM or just pull your folders that way as well. So very flexible and only a few seconds before a ransomware happened versus hours and hours or days.
Yeah, that granularity is key there for sure. Next, we've got, can I replicate traffic, or can I replicate different VMs to different destinations, like different hypervisor storage or sites?
Yeah. So I don't want to confuse people with the one-to-many terminology of that feature, because that came out in 5.0 end of last year, and that's one VM to up to 3 locations. But even before that, all the previous versions allowed you to do one site to many locations, and you can even go cross-site. You know, it doesn't always have to be one source to one destination. The source can also be a destination. So it's extremely flexible and lets you choose what works best for you and your use cases and your SLAs.
That's kind of the cool thing about being hypervisor based. Like I mentioned in that previous customer, they had different arrays, which it doesn't care about, but that stretches out to the cloud and basically any destination in essence. Kind of cool for sure.
Yeah, and that's what you have to be ready for. And we're also hypervisor agnostic in the fact that you can go from vSphere to Hyper-V or Hyper-V to vSphere or different VMware versions. So you're not worried about that destination being upgraded, and you're not upgraded yet, so you're losing your DR solution until you upgrade and get on the same levels of everything. But yeah, I mean, that's what you said in the beginning. You're consultants first. You want to make sure you get the right solution for them. Sometimes you have to match storage arrays and versions because they might need storage-based replication for certain functionality and certain recoverability, but you can augment that and fit these pieces in the right place, and the Zerto solution can augment any of that, but just making it easy and not even care what's happening because you're protected.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. For sure. Last question I got here is, can I replicate out of the cloud?
Yeah, do you want to take that one? I mean, I have an answer as well, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's simple yes. So the nice thing about Zerto in general is it's not a one-way thing. We've kind of already established that you can, cloud can be sort of a destination for replication, but and this is one of the things you typically see in a demo is not only can you fail over, but you can fail back. So whether cloud is your primary or secondary platform, it's really independent. So you do have the ability to have cloud workload that is a primary workload and have that be replicated back down on-prem. And frankly, we've seen customers that use that as a means for sort of moving back and forth between on-prem and in the cloud.
Yeah, absolutely. And that gives you that opportunity, like you said, if you have different destinations, you have your bare metal based or vSphere destination, and you have some Azure potentially, you can potentially try both and see which one you like better. And a big differentiator that you mentioned is, even though the product lets you replicate out, not all of your competition allows that customer to get back out. So the fact that they could be running in your cloud and replicating out to their own site as DR is hugely powerful, or failing back if they're in a disaster scenario. So it's really cool that you enable that and you walk them through that process.
Yeah, it is. When we're talking cloud to people, that is one of the first concerns always is am I locked in once my data's up there? And this is one of the probably easiest ways to get it out for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions come in. I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up from there. I want to thank, obviously, those are guys for coming in for this thing, but all of the attendees out there. Appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. I hope we didn't interrupt lunch if you're in a different time zone. But please reach out, info@CoreTech CoreTechServices.com, and we'll be happy to set up next steps with you guys. Thanks
Thank
once
you
again.
so much. And when you get this webinar link, also make sure you share it with your peers.
Yeah, please do.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right, I'll have a good evening or good afternoon. We'll talk to you guys later.